One thing that can be really frustrating as a parent is you see your child struggling with a specific subject. They need help with their homework, or maybe they're asking questions on their homework that, you as a parent do not feel equipped to answer. IXL Learning is an online learning program for kids. It covers math, language arts, science, and social studies. IXL is designed to help them really understand and master topics in a fun way with positive feedback. I remember how much Eleanor struggled with math, and I was not able to help her, and having IXL would have really, really benefited her.
If your child is struggling, this is the smartest investment you can make. IXL is used in 95 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And Happier listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/happier. Visit IXL.com/happier to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.
Hello, we're here for More Happier, a podcast where we get more happier. Join us for some weekend listening as we kick back and get more happier with a looser vibe to our observations and reflections. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hey, Gretch.
Today, we'll talk about a big milestone, and we'll also discuss a question about how you get recommendations for what you see, watch, listen, hear, and more. But first, Elizabeth, what's making us more happier? What's making you more happier?
All right, Gretch, this is a small thing, but it is bringing me great joy.
Oh, okay? Great.
You know I love Survivor, the show Survivor, hosted by Jeff Probst. I've seen every season.
You do. You are dedicated.
Well, I found out that the next season is going to have a guy named Jon Lovett on it.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yes, he was a former Obama speechwriter. He is part of the team that does Pod Save America, which is a very popular podcast. Mm-hmm. He famously was dating Ronan Farrow, Mia Farrow's son, for about 10 years. Yeah. So he's just a sort of man about town, a writer, a character that I enjoy listening to. Uh-huh. And he is going to be on Survivor. And my favorite season of Survivor ever was a season that had Mike White on it. Mike White, who created White Lotus, did a season of Survivor because he was a huge fan. I'm assuming Jon Lovett must be a huge fan. And I just cannot wait to watch him on Survivor.
So this isn't a thing that they do regularly. This isn't like Dancing with the Stars or something where they regularly put people in. This is pretty unusual that kind of a known character is there.
Yes, and oftentimes nobody knows who that person is, or just somebody will recognize them. For instance, they had Lisa Whelchel, who played Blair on Facts of Life.
Oh, yeah.
She was on one year, and, one guy was like, hey, that's Blair. Uh-huh. The 22-year-olds had no idea who she was. So it's interesting to see who recognizes somebody and who doesn't.
I see.
But it's not as if it's Celebrity Survivor. No.
Right.
It is just a person who likes Survivor who happens to be famous in some way. Might be on.
So he's really dedicated. It's interesting because I wonder if it's a lot more fun to watch than to compete, I would think.
We will find out.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear him talk about it. Can't wait to watch. I don't even know when it's coming on.
Right.
But I am extremely excited.
Well, that's fun.
Yes.
That is fun.
It's the little things.
It's the little things.
What about you, Gretch? What's making you more happy?
Oh, okay. So this is making me so happy. So there is a novelist I love, Iris Murdoch. And I did this thing. Have you ever done this, Elizabeth, where I love her novels. She's written so many novels, and I read 4 of the novels, and then I just stopped. Why did I stop? I don't know, because I loved every single one, and they're very unusual. I mean, the thing about Iris Murdoch is the voice is very strong. They're very distinctive. And then I saw a friend, somebody I don't even really know that well. How we got onto Iris Murdoch, I do not know. And she got me really engaged because she's like, oh, I love Iris Murdoch too. My favorites are this, 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 and this. And I'm like, I haven't read any of those. My favorites are this, this, and this. And she said, well, I haven't read any of those. So I went out to the library and got a lot of the ones that she particularly recommended. Now I've read 2 of those. They're so good. I'm keeping going. And I was saying to her, you know, it'd be fun because one thing about Iris Murdoch novels is you really want to talk about them. They've got a lot going on. They're the kind of thing you really want to discuss. And so I said to her, you know what would be fun is to do like a pop-up book club where it's just Iris Murdoch novels. And we sort of do it and maybe do 8 or 10 of her novels, and then we're done. And it would only be Iris Murdoch. And she's like, absolutely, sign me up. And so I wouldn't do this until the fall or maybe even next year. But I am reading all this Iris Murdoch, and I just love it. It's funny, though, 2 of her novels, The Black Prince and The Sandcastle, while I was reading them, I disliked them intensely. I appreciated them as good, and like I thought they were good novels, but there was something about the characters or the situation which was just annoying to me. I'm like, oh, these people, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Then on the last page, the whole thing just blew open. And you reimagine the entire novel. You see it in a completely different way. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to reread the novel right now, having finished it, because now I have a completely different perspective. And I love it. And I think that, you know, so many novelists don't stick the ending. So many TV shows don't stick the ending. It's hard to do something well, and then it's hard to really end it well.
Yes. Well, let me ask you this, just for people listening who haven't read Iris Murdoch, what's the vibe of the books?
Okay. In all honesty, and I am not an expert. Like, I never took a class. I haven't read a lot of reviews. This is just me, like, as a fan picking them up. I would say this. They're pretty challenging. Like, if you're a person where you really like light, easy beach reading fiction, these are more like a British novel. I love them, and I find them to be page-turner, but not tremendously challenging, not experimental. They are traditional novels, but they're not beach reading.
Okay.
I would also say that what I love about them is they have an element to them that is often supernatural, where things are happening that you're like, is it realistic? Sometimes it's just like people don't actually behave like this. They're acting in symbolic ways. I love that. So if you like something like Robertson Davies, if you like Piranesi, if you like Flannery O'Connor, if you like Virginia Woolf.
Okay, and that's not my type of thing.
That is not your vibe.
I'm more of a like John Updike.
Yes.
More of a very realistic, down to earth.
And the social commentary on it is not the kind of social commentary that you enjoy. It's really going into the deep, deep, deep roots of human nature, where things are happening on that symbolic plane, which, of course, is one of the biggest interests of my life, which I think about all the time.
Yes.
I rarely talk about it, but like, if your idea of a fantastic book is Memories, Dreams, Reflections by Carl Jung, then I would say, oh my gosh, you should run to Iris Murdoch. There is a very particular kind of thing that they are to me. But again, I say this completely as just somebody who's reading this as a fan. Now I kind of do want to learn more about it, read some reviews, read some things so I'm a more educated. Maybe when I do this book group, I will do it so that I'm a more educated reader, because I'm sure I'm missing a tremendous amount and probably even mischaracterizing them. There's probably some Iris Murdoch professor out there who's falling out of his or her chair in despair at hearing me describe them this way. But here's to say, you don't need to know anything more than you want to read a great book. And I mean, The Philosopher's Pupil, loved The Bell.
Is there one, Gretchen, if somebody wanted to try it, is there one that's the most accessible that you would recommend?
I would say I did look for that. And The Bell, which is her first novel, is the most sort of traditionally a novel, and a realistic novel. And I did really love that. I think she's best known for her book, The Sea, which I also really, really loved. So far, I think A Severed Head or The Philosopher's Pupil might be among my favorites. Maybe I'll have a summer of Iris Murdoch. Anyway, but the thing that's making me happy is Iris Murdoch and this idea of doing a pop-up book club. And one of the things I think would be fun is not to have it be my really good friends, but maybe kind of an odd hodgepodge of people who just happen to share this love. That could be an interesting way for us to come together. Well, Elizabeth, we're always talking about how do you revive dormant friendships or expand your circle in an unusual way, and this might be a way to do that. So.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Well, coming up, there is something you've been meaning to tell me, but first, this break. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Gretch, this year has gone by so fast.
Yeah.
You and I love thinking about years as a whole. We love thinking about what we want to do in a year, what we want to accomplish. We love looking back on the year. Well, there is still time to have a lot happen in this year. And one thing that can really help when you're trying to tackle something big is therapy. I know that for me, anytime I've struggled or wanted to figure out something big, speaking to a therapist has made a huge difference.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time. Take a moment. Visit betterhelp.com/Gretchen Rubin today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Gretchen Rubin. You've heard us talk about Great Jones and their stunning high-quality cookware. Well, I have to say, since I got my Saucy, I have found it much more fun to cook. The Saucy is a terrific saucepan with curved sides, a pouring spout. It comes with a lid. It looks gorgeous just sitting there. It makes it easier and more fun to cook. And I realized that that's the exact intention of Great Jones. As a women-run New York-based brand, Great Jones wants to equip and empower people to cook at home and make kitchen our happy place.
So whether you're baking sourdough, cooking scrambled eggs, or looking to transform your kitchen into your happy place at a great price, we can agree that it's time to upgrade from those old rusted hand-me-downs to the bold, beautiful, long-lasting pieces from Great Jones like we did. Get started today at greatjones.com and get an extra 15% off your first order with promo code HAPPIER. That's greatjones.com, promo code HAPPIER. Okay, Gretch, we are back. What have you been meaning to tell me?
Well, Elizabeth, we hit a huge milestone. 1,000 episodes. Amazing.
Oh my gosh. So even though we're on episode like 480 something, we have, with all of the other things, 1,000.
Okay, yes. So if you call them our Wednesday episodes sort of our regular episodes when we're like, hello and welcome to Happier, and we have the Try This at Home and the Happiness Hack and all that, that's every Wednesday. We're coming up on 500 of those. So that's a big milestone that's happening in 2024. 500 episodes. Tremendous. But if you count the little happiers, you know, the little 2 to 4 minute ones that I do every Monday, and you count the more happiers, which are on Saturdays, which are, you know, like these ones, like we're doing right now, that's kind of looser, that we haven't been doing for quite as long. Because we've been doing the podcast for a couple of years before we started doing the mores. Plus some bonuses, like I did the reading of A Christmas Carol, or we did our bonus episode on Game of Thrones.
We're talking about Mad Men, I think.
Talking about Mad Men. Yeah, like these odd things that we've done from time to time. But Apple, as Chuck pointed out to me, Apple keeps track of how many total episodes of content that are in your feed. And 1,000, that's a big number.
That is a big number. If you said when we started, there's going to be 1,000 entities of this, we would have not believed it.
You know what, Elizabeth? One day we will, maybe for 500, we should go back and listen to our very first episode.
Yes.
Because I've never done that.
That would be fun.
But it doesn't seem that long ago. I remember saying to you, it's going to be a lot of work and it could be a big failure right out in the open. And you were like, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. I mean, I don't even know what to say. That is such a huge part of our lives. It feels like I can't imagine our life before Happier and Gretchen Rubin.
I know.
Feels like such the fabric.
But I think that's exactly why it's good to observe these milestones, because from a happiness perspective, it's so easy to get caught up in the to-do and forget about the ta-da. And now it seems inevitable that we would have, or just fate. It was just, of course we would have a podcast. So it's good to think back and remember there was a time where we had to make the decision to do it, and we had no idea what was in store for us. And if you had told us then that we would hit 1,000 episodes, we would have just been flabbergasted.
Yes. And now Chuck has been with us for so long.
I know. Chuck has been with us for so much longer than any of our other producers.
Yes. And hopefully will be with us for another 1,000
episodes. That could scare him off. Yeah, day by day. We'll just take it week by bird by bird.
Yes. Well, that is exciting.
Yeah.
All right, Gretch, what is our spotlight on a tool this week?
Yes, the tool I want to highlight is in the Happier app. And of course, you can download the Happier app. There's the spin the wheel tool, which is everybody's favorite part. I think it's very fun. But it's dedicated to design your summer. So if you spin the wheel, instead of just giving you a mishmash of things to suggest to do to make you happier, these are all dedicated to fun things you can do for the summer, for June, so that you can set yourself up for design your summer.
Yeah, and Gretch, I have been spinning the wheel. It's so fun. Do you want to hear a few things I got?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I got make a Lego creation, which is
perfect for
we
you.
have thousands of Legos.
Yes, you could build Westeros out of Legos.
Yes, and I love how it goes small and big stuff, because here's a big one, go on a road trip, which I absolutely want to do. And then another one I got that I thought was really fun and whimsical was identify a bird, like in your yard. So those are all very different, very fun. It's a little treat in your day.
Yeah, I think I like just the act of spinning the wheel. Yes. Is super fun. Well, I got one just this morning, which was so perfectly timed because mine was plan a trip to visit a friend or family member who lives far away. And that reminded me that I need to figure out when we're going to go to Kansas City this summer. Because Eliza, Eleanor, and I go to Kansas City, and I need to get the plane tickets. Elizabeth, I do not like to buy plane tickets.
I need to do that too.
So It was good to get a reminder. I'm like, it's going to happen because it only gets worse with plane tickets. It only gets more expensive and more inconvenient the longer you wait. So go ahead and do it. So I was glad that my spin the wheel reminded me of that. So if you use the Happier app, you can design your summer using the spin the wheel. You get 3 chances per day. So if you want to do more than one or you want to skip one, you have 3 chances every day in June. And if you share photos and stories on social media from what you're doing, which I would love, I love to see what people are doing, use the hashtag design your summer. And maybe I'll repost it because I love to see what people are doing with their summer. It's so fun.
All right, Gretchen, coming up, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. But first, this break. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. As your kids get older, some things about parenting get easier. They can make their own snacks and make their bed and do their laundry. But others don't, like having that conversation about money. The fact is, kids won't really know how to manage their money until they're actually in charge of it. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families. Parents can send money to their kids and keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens build money confidence and lifelong financial literacy skills. Jack has Greenlight, Gretchen, and he loves it. If I had Greenlight when we were young and I knew if I mowed the lawn, Mom and Dad would put money on my account, I for sure would have mowed the lawn more happily.
Millions of parents and kids are learning about money on Greenlight. It's the easy, convenient way for parents to raise financially smart kids and families to navigate life together. Sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/happier. That's greenlight.com/happier to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/happier. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. I now work with a team, and I am here to say that finding the right candidate and hiring the right candidate is one of the very biggest and most important challenges to anyone who has a small business.
LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Gretchen. That's linkedin.com/Gretchen to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. There are some stories about our father's life that I truly never get tired of hearing. From hilarious to heartfelt, tear-jerking to plot-twisting, his retelling of the events always brings me joy. Just in time for Father's Day, I found the perfect gift that captures all his stories for our family forever. It's called Storyworth. Storyworth helps you preserve precious memories and stories from your father or father figure's life for years to come. And Gretch, you get a book of all these stories. And I love just keeping a book on the coffee table, and anyone from any generation can see a story from Dad, like what was his favorite toy or what was his first job.
Each week, Storyworth emails your loved one a thought-provoking question that you get to help pick. Give all the fathers in your life a unique, heartfelt gift you'll all cherish for years. Storyworth. Right now, save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/happier. That's storyworth.com/happier to save $10 on your first purchase. Okay, Elizabeth, what have you been meaning to ask me?
Okay, here's an interesting question.
Okay.
What culture that you love, so books, movies, music, games, plays, fashion, sports, any of it, did you learn about through your children? Because, of course, kids, have a window into worlds that we often don't as parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one is, and I think you probably share this with Eliza and Eleanor, I don't really watch reality shows or competition shows, but Eliza and Eleanor were super into Claim to Fame, and they got me really into Claim to Fame. That's a good show.
I love that show. I think it's coming out soon again.
Oh, good.
Premiering.
Because this thing, I got so into it, and then it was like over.
Yes.
It's a kinder, gentler show, I think, than some of them. I think some of them are just too... I'm too tenderhearted for some of those shows. One thing they got me into that I loved, which is not unlike Iris Murdoch, is the show Russian Doll. It's a limited series TV show. I didn't watch the second season, which I think was very different from the first season, but I loved it so much I watched it, and then I immediately watched it a second time. So I think they got me into it, and I think I liked it more than they did, the TV show Russian Doll.
Yes, very you, that show.
It's very me. And speaking of like symbolic level, watch the very, very last scene, and there's something in there that blew my mind. Eliza has gotten me into immersive spaces. She's very focused on, this was something that I just never really paid attention to. And this is also tied into Life in Five Senses, just this idea of like really paying attention to what's going on around you and why we're drawn to it. But so now she's really gotten me to pay attention to things like, well, why is it that people want to do Color Factory? Or why do they want to go to Immersive Van Gogh? Or why is this museum different from that museum exhibit? And why is the High Line special? Like, what is it about space, immersiveness of spaces? It's kind of hard to put your finger on, but now she's got me attuned to that in a way that I never really was before.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then the final thing, and I think this was Eleanor who got both Eliza and me into it, is the YouTuber Caleb Hammer, who talks about personal finance. Have I told you?
We've talked about him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's a guy where people will come in and just lay it all out for him very candidly, what's going on in their financial lives, and he tries to help them get a better handle on it. And it is like each one is like a little play where you're just deeply into somebody's life, and knowing what somebody spends their money on is really revealing. And, I don't watch a lot of like YouTube shows, and that was one that they got me into. So those are some for me, Elizabeth. How about you and Jack? What has Jack gotten you into?
Well, one thing Jack is sort of currently getting me into is understanding hip hop and rap more. I mean, I am just someone who never got into hip hop to listening to it.
Yeah.
But lately on the way to school, he's been playing me songs and saying, this is so-and-so and this is so-and-so, and this song is really popular for this reason. And
interesting.
These two are in a feud, and here's the answer to their last song. And it's actually... I'm like, wow, this is, really good. Obviously, I know hip hop is really good and rap is really good, but I just had never taken the time to really listen.
Yes.
You and I aren't really music people. I don't spend a lot of time listening to music.
No.
And so I have really been enjoying that. And then it's funny because he's also gotten me more interested in boxing because he loves boxing. So now we'll watch some boxing matches. And it's fun to sort of watch through that lens. I don't know if I'm a boxing fanatic, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then, another funny thing I was thinking about this question, Gretchen, is our listeners get me into things.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Like right now, I'm so into the stylist, Allison Bornstein.
Yes, right. Yes.
I'm avidly following her.
So many people suggested her for you. It was funny.
Yeah, and that is just like a recent thing where
Yeah.
a listener emailed and said, I think this will help you. And it's fun having somebody pull you into something, whether it's your kid or somebody else.
No, it is. And I think it's a really good way to get out of your head, and like your natural inclinations, and you find things that you enjoy. And it's interesting. I mean, back to this idea of the hip hop. I mean, music is it's an interesting art in that you tend to like it more with repetition until you like tip over until you can't stand something anymore because you've listened to it so many times. But the more we know, the more we notice. And having somebody say, this is interesting for this reason, or people love this song, then you listen in a different way. You have a way to pay attention to it. And then it makes it easier to take an interest. So yeah, whether it's a child or a listener or I always am trying to get recommendations from people because I think it's helpful because if I'm just left to my own devices, I just find more of the same thing.
Right. It's
which
buying the same black turtleneck sweater over and over again.
Exactly. Because it's how do you get out of the groove of your own preferences?
And of course, it's a great way to connect. It's a great way to connect with loved ones or, again, with listeners, with friends. I mean, you always say taking somebody's recommendation is such a way to build a bond. Yes. And finding a new interest through someone is also a way of building a bond.
But you know what this is reminding me of? This is something that I haven't thought about in so long. And it goes to children and parents. I remember back when we were young and we would go to the library on the weekends, there was a book. And I mean, I was little. I mean, I must have been like 10. And I remember saying to Mom, I had told her about some book. I don't remember the book, some book that I had read that I loved. And I was talking about it. And we were driving to the library. And I remember I looked down at my stack and I said, oh, I forgot this book because we need to return it. And she said, oh, no, I kept it because you made it sound so good that now I want to read it. And I was so proud. And I mean, I think that was a moment where I felt immense responsibility. Like, wow. Like, I am like a reviewer of, the New York Review of Books. I have to use this power responsibly. And it just, like the fact that she would listen to me and then act on what I said, I mean, it truly, I get sort of teary thinking back on it. And it was just this tiny moment. I mean, there's no way she would have ever even remembered it half an hour later. But it was very meaningful to me that I felt that I could influence her taste.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, a tiny moment can be a big moment.
A tiny moment can be a big moment.
Finally, Gretch, what is our quotation this week?
This comes from the book Molly by Blake Butler. This wasn't who I meant to be, I thought, but it's who I was being. Whose fault was that? How long could I go on acting out against the idea of who I claim to be and still be me? Not very long.
That's a good one for Hollywood, Gretch.
Yeah. So, Elizabeth, are you feeling more happier?
Yes, I am feeling more happier. Thank you to Chuck. Here for another 1,000 episodes. Get in touch. Gretchen's on Threads, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Gretchen Rubin, and I'm on Threads and Instagram at Liz Craft. Our email address is podcast@GretchenRubin.com. And for everything related to this episode, links, photos, and more, go to happiercast.com. Bye, Gretch.
Bye, Elizabeth. The best time to start a happiness project is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. But Elizabeth, you know who's been a huge influence on culture for me is you. Because I didn't want to watch Mad Men. And then I now love Mad Men so much. You got me back into Succession because I'd sort of fallen off. You got me back in. You've told me about so many things that I love.
Yes. Well, I do like to be a happiness bully on the screen, quality screen time.
There you go.
But I can't get you into the Housewives. I'm still working on that.
Maybe sometime when we're together, you can like sit me. I think maybe it's like Jack and the Hip Hop. Maybe if you take me through and you explain to me why, like what the backstories are and everything, maybe I could get into it. Maybe I just need more. I need to bring more to it if I'm going to get more from it. Yeah. From the Onward Project. Homes.com knows that when it comes to home shopping, it's never just about the house or condo. It's about the home. And what makes a home is more than just the house or property. It's the location and neighborhood. If you have kids, it's also schools, nearby parks, and transportation options. That's why Homes.com goes above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth information they need to find the right home. And when I say in-depth, I'm talking deep.
Each listing features comprehensive information about the neighborhood, complete with a video guide. They also have details about local schools with test scores, state rankings, and student-to-teacher ratio. They even have an agent directory with the sales history of each agent. So when it comes to finding a home, not just a house, this is everything you need to know all in one place. Homes.com. We've done your homework.